a state cannot change immigration law. So people can still have their legal ways of getting legal documents. That doesn't change. The reason why we call this an anti-immigrant law is because it is criminalizing immigrants just for being immigrants, basically.
Welcome again to another episode. I'm sorry, we're starting already funny. But one more episode of I Got an Accent, So What? And today I have a very special girl, but she's very smart as well. And you guys are going to know very, very soon why. Giselle Martinez.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation to be here today.
Thank you for coming and giving us a little, space for picking your mind, your brain, and everything. So Giselle, we're gonna go a little back. Giselle, we met a couple weeks ago at a network event. It was very, very fun and peculiar. And we just sat there and we just started talking and we hit it off. And we were talking about off camera how important it is to, sometimes I'm a little antisocial. I don't like those networking events, but it turns out that, you meet very, very, meaningful people that you never know in life. It's about connections and collaboration. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad to have met you too. So here we are.
I know her husband and my husband in real estate. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, yeah, we're the wife here and there. And then all of a sudden, we have an attorney in-house in immigration. Right?
Yes. Yes.
How long you been doing immigration?
I have been doing immigration for 10 years. Oh. even though it doesn't look like it.
You were 10?
I know. A lot of people don't believe it that I've been in immigration for 10 years. I am a little older than I look, but I did start pretty young. I was about 23 years old when I started.
Wow. Yeah. How did that passion start?
So I'm an immigrant myself. I came to the United States when I was 12 years old with my family, my parents and my brother. And we had to go through the whole immigration process. We were undocumented for some time. My dad was undocumented until I was in my 20s.
Oh, wow.
So I just, I lived it, and that's why I decided that it was important for me to help people like me and my family.
So it was an inspiration part. You're like, I have to represent my people. Where you guys came from?
We're from Colombia.
Colombia. Yeah. What part of Colombia, Giselle?
So I'm from a small city called Chiquinquirá.
Oh my God, never heard of that. Wow.
Not too many people know about it. It's about 2 hours from Bogota. Okay. It's in the state or the department is called Boyacá. Okay. And it's this beautiful mountains all around. So didn't live there very long, but very proud to have been born there.
How, as a 12-year-old, coming from no choice, your parents are like, we're going to America, a new land, small town. All of a sudden, you came straight here to Orlando? Or any particular cities?
So I actually came to South Florida, kind of Fort Lauderdale area.
Okay.
And then we moved to Iowa.
Oh, pobrecita.
And that was traumatic.
Yes. How was that experience of learning English? You tell me.
Yeah. So, we were, like you said, we were 12, and so we were almost at teenage stage, and I say we because I have a twin brother, so we were in the teenage stage, and it was really rough just moving first to Fort Lauderdale. We lived there for about 6 months, and I remember we'd cry almost every day, like, I want to go back, I want to be with my friends, but then moving to Iowa, even worse, right? Yes. No one spoke Spanish there, everyone just spoke English, and, our accents, people didn't understand what we were saying, and so it was really a hard transition, but I'm glad it happened, and now here I am.
That you went through it.
Yeah.
I imagine it sounds very similar to my story. Going to Miami for 6 years, not learning any English because in Miami everybody speaks Spanish. And then my parents went to a small town in Chicago, Illinois, and at least you had your brother. Same age.
Yes, that helped a lot. That really, I think, having him with me, like living all this together, I think it was super helpful. Especially, I'm a very shy, shy, quiet person. It doesn't look like it sometimes, but I am very shy and quiet. And so having him as a friend, no matter where I went in the world, I always had a friend with me because we were always in the same grade, same classes, and all that. Yeah.
You guys close now?
Yeah, we're still very close. I think we're very different now, so we have very different experiences.
Oh, it's a guy, you're a girl.
Yeah, we're very different. And he's very creative. He's a writer and everything. So we're very different, but we're still very close. Yeah.
Wow. So growing up, 12, you said something very, very, that pops in my head. 12 years old, you're trying to figure it out who you are. You're not quite a kid. You're going into soon to be teenager. I imagine a lot of criticism, a lot of labels. Anyone in particular that for you was so, not dramatic, but that stay in your head at that age, going through the transition as immigrant and immigrants of, kids and family going through that transition.
That's interesting. You mean someone who maybe made me feel
any type of way?
Yeah. Interesting enough, I recently was thinking about this, about my science teacher in high school. And she made so many comments that now, today, I will realize how mean and racist she was towards us who were children. Remember one day she had us raise our hand. Oh, who's Colombian here? So I'm like, I'm proud Colombian, raising my hand, right? And she said, how do you weigh cocaine?
What?
She wanted to teach the metric system. Yeah, she wanted to teach the metric system. And she said, what is the unit of measurement to measure cocaine or something like that? I remember but I didn't even speak English that well at the time, so I couldn't say anything, right? I couldn't.
That's so inappropriate.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm already getting furious.
I know.
I would go to that school and I would start. I'm not gonna say. Wow. Yeah. So it's obviously label,
Right.
What is the name producer that I always say? Stereotyping. Yeah. And I think for every immigrant and especially child us coming into, we've always experienced that. But I do feel like that gave us another skin, tougher. Yeah. That whatever comes our way, we take it with grace and we take it with actually we don't get offended. In my case, I don't feel offended. I feel the contrary. I can take on this. Watch me, When did you feel that you started having your English? I mean, mine, for example, was in a year I had to learn English in Illinois. It was insane. How long did it took you going through that process?
Yeah. I think the fact that we were a little younger helped, but it did take us a while. Again, going back to quiet and shy, so it was hard to kind of let go and start speaking English. I think it wasn't until high school that we started getting more friends and they was only speak English. So that's where I felt comfortable speaking English. But even today, sometimes, if I get too nervous or something, I don't speak English well, I can't find the words. Even though I came as a little girl, it's still a struggle. And sometimes people don't see it because they see me as this person who, okay, you're a lawyer, you speak English normally, fine, but it's a process. It doesn't come easy to me. And the sad part is that sometimes even Spanish doesn't come easy to me either because I came so young. So.
I'm not the only one, Leticia. You heard that? If you're not even Spanish or English, I can do a correct interview.
Neither.
Wow. Finally, I can relate.
Yeah.
So you guys moved to Orlando because I know how many years you guys were
in Iowa. So we were in Iowa only for 1 year. Okay. Enough to be traumatic.
Yes, I know.
And then we moved back down to South Florida. I didn't move to Orlando until I was actually in my 20s after college.
Okay, you were already big and grown up. Okay, I know you come from, comments of all these immigration challenges, us especially coming from Colombia, South America. In my case, at that time, and right now, actually, my people are going through that issue, the Cuban, we all had asilo politico, which was much easier for us. You just had to touch the little water and you were safe, right? I know for a lot of Central America and South America, it's such it's such a struggle. And my husband, being Peruvian, he experienced the same thing. They came with a tourist visa, and then they had to let it go and so be illegal until somebody helped them, a church, an organization. When did that passion? I know you struggle it, but you're like, I want to be an attorney, but I want to be an immigration attorney because it's something very specific.
Yeah. So funny story. When I was in law school, I was like, I'm not gonna do immigration. I want to make a lot of money. And immigration attorneys don't make a lot of money, right? So I was trying to look into other areas, and I did an internship for a commercial litigation firm or something. And I was like, what is this? Like, there's no people, there's no feelings. It was just numbers and these problems about products or something. I'm like, I didn't like that, and I did it the next year. I did an internship in asylum, and I was like, "Oh, this is what I like. Like, I love meeting people like me, immigrants who needed my help, and I love helping them and guiding them in the right direction." So that's when I found it doesn't matter that I'm not gonna make tons of money. This is really what I'm passionate about. I really want to help people like my family.
You found your calling.
Yeah.
What passion is you. You also have a nonprofit organization.
Yes.
Talk to me about that nonprofit organization. You're a co-founder of it, so definitely would love to hear all about it.
Thanks. So it's called Orlando Center for Justice. We founded the organization in 2016. So I can't believe it's almost 7 years, or more than 7 years now since we founded the organization. As an immigration attorney, we kept seeing people go to court alone because in immigration law or immigration court, you don't have a lawyer guaranteed, right? Not like in criminal court, you have to have a lawyer appointed. In immigration law, you don't. Immigration court. So we would see a lot of people going by themselves, people who couldn't afford. I worked for a private attorney who I love working for him, but people couldn't afford him a lot of the time. So only people who had more money, and so my family reflected we would not have been able to afford him, right? So my friend Melissa Marantes and I decided, let's get together and let's open Orlando Center for Justice, OCJ we call it for short. And it's been quite a ride. It started the two of us being each other's receptionists in a tiny office space, and now we have a team of 16.
Oh, wow.
So we have grown a lot, and we have all the different programs. The community, they know to come to us when an immigrant needs help, so we're just super proud of what we have accomplished. Yeah.
So what is the typical clientele that you need that the nonprofit organization can help specifically, that this is the type of people that we can actually help, and we can help them with the nonprofit organization since it's such a need in our community?
Right. So we focus on immigration law. So the clients that we get, we do anything related to immigration except for business and student visas, but anything else, deportation defense, family immigration, visas for victims of crime, asylum, obviously, all that, we represent people who need help with that. Something that we've come to realize is that an attorney has so much bandwidth is the problem. So our office gets between 300 to 400 calls a week of people who need help. And we try as much as we can, we take as much as we can, but we're not going to overwhelm our attorneys and ourselves. So we saw that there's a lot of new people coming in, right? New immigrants coming in who come in and they don't know anything. They don't know I got this paperwork at the border. What does it mean? Where am I going? Who should I call? How do I change my address? All these issues that they don't understand the legal system. They don't understand the language, right? So we came up with a program called the Hello Project, and the purpose of it is to orient the new immigrant who just arrived in the country. Explain, okay, this is what the legal document means. This is how you change your address. This is what it means when you go to court. This is what you're gonna have to fight when you go to court. And then also, these are your responsibilities. So make sure you don't drink and drive, right? Make sure you don't have an open container. Like in our countries, you can just walk around with alcohol and nobody cares. So we want to protect them as well from getting arrested, and also we want to show them what the legal system is. So hopefully that gives them the ability to kind of move in the right direction. So even if we can't represent every single immigrant that comes our way, at least we can orient them somehow.
And that's huge.
Yeah.
You know, informing and educating our community, it's huge. And thank you for that, you know, because we tend to say there's so much help needed that one person can, but I can make a difference on my own. And that's beautiful. That shows me your heart, shows me your calling, it shows me what passions you about. And I don't know you guys, but that's definitely, I want to hang out with people like that, you know. And especially when my family came, you know, the same thing. We would do anything legally because we heard of a friend, you know.
Right.
But never there was this website or even, you know, well, mind you, it was 1993. Technology was not that advanced. You know, we couldn't find that in the yellow pages. But today's day with technology, with this whole entire, you know, platform that we have to inform, I want to touch about the laws right now that we're experiencing, especially in Florida, to immigrant. And I want you to explain it to me like I'm 5 years old because I'm lost myself. Right. And I think a lot of the time that even in the voting system and everything we don't do because we don't want to inform ourselves or because we don't understand. And I think bringing light to that, it makes us all make better choices.
Right.
So how does that work? How is it affecting us today's day, especially here in Florida?
Yeah, so I call it an anti-immigrant law here in Florida.
Yes.
One of the things that I also want to kind of a myth that I want to dispel is that it's not an immigration law. So immigration law is a federal law, so a state cannot change immigration law. So people can still have their legal ways of getting legal documents. That doesn't change. The reason why we call this an anti-immigrant law is because it is criminalizing immigrants just for being immigrants, basically. So the way that as it was signed is the law says that if you leave the state and come, or if you're coming from outside the state, doesn't matter you're here or outside, but if you're coming from outside the state into Florida, you can be charged with a felony if either you or someone you're with in the car is an undocumented immigrant.
Wow.
So it doesn't just not only
doesn't matter on the person, but who's carrying them.
Right, and so that it doesn't just affect immigrants; it affects family members, friends, right?
Everything.
Anyone. It could be a U.S. citizen. Doesn't matter if they're carrying or having an immigrant in their car and coming to the state, they can be charged with a felony.
Definitely bringing division and alienation.
Yes.
Like I don't want to talk to you because this can get me into. We're talking about what, felony? We're talking about strong words.
It could be up to 15 years in jail. Yeah, for bringing in an immigrant in your car. The original bill, before it was signed into law, said carrying an immigrant anywhere. It could be your house, your car, anywhere in the state. And thankfully, we did a lot of activism, a lot of great organizations. We helped a little bit at Orlando Center for Justice, but we did a lot of activism against it. And we were able to narrow down a little bit the law.
More specific.
To make it just... now what they signed was coming into the state, not all over the state. So there's a little bit of good news compared to what people originally thought, but it's still not fun.
It's still affecting our people that are coming here to work and better their life.
Yes, and so that's one. There's other provisions in the law. For example, now hospitals have to ask people for their immigration status if they take Medicaid or Medicare, and they don't. They have to ask, but you don't have to answer, and it doesn't mean that they're not gonna help you just because they asked you. But still, if I'm an immigrant and I go to the hospital and they ask me what's my immigration status, I'm gonna get scared, right? And
You're gonna run for your life.
I'm gonna be running for my life, right? And so we're asking actually everyone, documented or undocumented, to refuse to answer that question, just in support of immigrants, and because you do have the ability to refuse to answer.
Everybody has the right to receive treatment. If you feel like your life is in threat, that you're not healthy, I think we're talking about in being inhumane. And if here we protect the animals so much, why not our own kind? And that it's scary. It's an intimidation tactic. And definitely talking about it, what you said, refusing us, legally or illegally, to say, I'm not going to reply that answer. I don't think I need to reply that to get my service or get any type of help. And that's very important for us Hispanic to know. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Tell me
Yeah.
more.
And the other big one is for employers. So if you are an employer and you employ more than 25 people, now you have to use the system E-Verify, which if you don't use it, you're committing a felony as well. And the problem is, one, E-Verify has been known to be very glitchy and has incorrect information. And that is causing a lot of employers to lose their employees because now people are scared and people are leaving the state. I have so many clients that have called me and said, I'm leaving, I'm packing up my bags and I'm leaving. So people are losing workers, we're losing farm workers, we're losing construction workers. People are essential in the state.
There's a domino effect.
Yes.
And affects everything.
It is not a myth. Like, people are saying, oh, no, it's social media. Like, that's fake that people are leaving. People are leaving. My clients are leaving. My clients are calling me. They're packing up their bags, and they're going to other states where they feel more welcome than here.
Wow. How can we make a change? How can we see things from a different perspective for those that are legal and that we can do change and we can move and we can do whatever it's possible? Walk us through what us immigrant can do to protect those that are not in the same positions or you know, amazing position as some that are legals than those that can because they're going through the process or they're being processed. Like, what can we do as immigrants?
Well, if you can vote,
Obviously.
vote is the most important thing right now. And one of the things is also in kind of education, right? Because I think a lot of this comes from a place of ignorance. And it doesn't have to be willful ignorance. It's just if you don't really understand immigration or you don't know other immigrants, then you see them as like this other, in my opinion, right? Like there's other and there's other people, right, that I don't know, that don't belong here, that I don't like, and so when people lose their humanity, right? Then
empathy,
right? It doesn't matter. Then you can kick them out of the state, or it doesn't matter that they're gonna be charged with a felony when they come into the state. But if you actually get to know an immigrant, right? Like you and I, you realize that we're actually cool people, right?
Cool. I think we're more than cool. We're the one keeping this country alive.
Right. And so, you know, politicians sometimes say a lot of things and don't believe everything politicians say, first of all. Yes. And they're just trying to kind of find a way for their platform so they can, you know, run for president or whatever. And unfortunately, it's on the backs of us immigrants, and it's not fair, you know. So vote is very important to vote.
So that's the number thing that we can do as immigrant and Hispanic and Latino Americano is let's read those in power, those that are in esas boletas, what they stand for, I understand that we cannot figure it out because they all have different agenda until they get into the power, but there's a lot of red flags. Yes. There's a lot of little things that you see that doesn't make sense, or a lot of things that said, don't believe actually social media, do your background check. What has this individual changed? What law have these individuals done that will protect me as an immigrant? I will say in my little knowledge on that, but you just have hit it on the nail. Actually, the statistics was saying that not only 2023, in 2024, guys, we're soon to be una potencia, the Hispanics in this nation. Whether they like it or not, we're coming for you. I can say that because I got an accent, so what? And it's because we love reproduction. Us Hispanic believe in big family, and I think it has to do with the lack that many of us left our family. For instance, and I can only relate to myself, I left in Cuba when I was 10 years old, came with my little brother, 4, my mom and my dad. We were only 4 sheltered. Super shelter, and we missed our abuela, we miss our abuelo, we miss our tío. So it gets to the point that what we overcompensate is, I want to have a family that whatever we didn't have in our motherland, we can have it in this new land that we picked, that we chose. And that is something that this country should feel so proud, that we chose them, because not for nothing, but we could be anywhere else. Not kidding. But I still feel that this is the land of opportunities. And for those that can do a change and for those that can be like what we're doing right now, being vocal. Don't be afraid to speak up your mind. It does not have to be that you and I have different ideology, but that we can come to a topic and talk about it and say, how can we meet in the half? Mm-hmm. What is this affecting me? What is this gonna hurt my future generation? And it's so powerful to open lines of communication. And I think it has to do with nuestra idiosincrasia, where we were raised that, shh, we don't talk about it unless it hurt, shh, don't say nothing. Mm-hmm. And we are in the land that we can speak our mind freely. Mm-hmm. And a lot might get offended or not, but whether you like it or not, that's our amendment. You know, freedom of speech, as long, I'm a strong believer, as long we're not hurting each other. And what you said, thinking that having empathy first, and what you don't know, you don't know. You know, so to me, that I was like, I definitely want to hear more about that immigration. What is affecting us? What can we do to help those? How can the nonprofit organization, how can we do more? Giselle, tell me, how can I do more for that nonprofit organization, or even move many people around that can benefit our kind, our people?
Well, again, you sharing this information is amazing, right? Like, this is big, that you have the courage to have a podcast and share this information. So sharing our story is great. Sharing the platform, like giving us a platform as nonprofits. You know, if you share what we have to say on social media and all this, that's very important. There's always volunteering, of course, you know. Not so much, my nonprofit is a little bit more high, you know, you need a law degree almost.
You need a lawyer.
People, right? But there's also other nonprofits where you can volunteer for. There's right before this law passed, we were in Tallahassee, right? You know, talking to people, trying to get things moving. So that's something important. And you know, there's always the option of donating, right? As nonprofits, we need money. That's what we lack, money. Yeah. So donating for the cause, asking friends to donate, having an event for a nonprofit, all that is very important.
Well, count me in for anything that you need. I think that you're hitting right on my alley. As again, for us was, even though we had to go through a process, it's difficult enough as immigrant, what you said, especially the kids, as a big change, dramatic change. You're disconnecting these children from their nucleus, which is their grandpa, their grandparents, what you grew, like, to a whole different, mindset, and on top of that feel safe where you are, which is the most important thing.
My nonprofit, we actually, part of what we do is we serve 3 shelters around Central Florida of children who are in immigration detention. Wow. So when children come into the United States, what they call unaccompanied, they first get placed in a shelter while they find their parents or their sponsors who they can be reunified with. So we serve 3 shelters, so that's something that breaks our heart day in and day out to hear their stories. Sometimes we have 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds. And something that a lot of people don't know is, like, what's heartbreaking is some of these children are going to be deported because some of them might not have a case. Some of them might not be able to find an attorney eventually, so they're going to have to represent themselves in court by themselves. There's no requirement that children be represented either. So they have to go to immigration court sometimes by themselves and represent themselves if they can't afford it or if they don't find a nonprofit to help them.
How traumatic is that?
Right? And people think, oh no, as a child, I'm sure the U.S. helps them or something. No.
Just another number.
Yeah.
Wow, you really have touched something that I do believe in. I'm certain that we need more help. We need more changes. As immigrants, we've come a long way, but doesn't mean that we still need to do a lot of changes. And I think the majority thing, it has to do with unity. When we feel for each other, when you as my brother a sister from Colombia, brother from Mexico, for wherever you are, I feel your pain, I identify, and I adopt you as one of ours, and that's what this country is beautiful, but then it has so much unsensitivity that sometimes happen because we get in that little ruletita of working, work, success. And we have to look around, guys.
Yeah, and kind of like being very like, okay, I'm just gonna fend for myself and protect myself, but not think about others, right? I don't think any immigrant came to the United States thinking like, oh, I'm gonna steal their jobs, or, we really come here to give a better life to our children, or to our parents, to our family, and fleeing terrible things in our home countries, right? There's a lot of these children, especially Guatemalan, terrible violence, domestic violence, Hondurans, gangs,
Wow.
and they just want a chance at life. They're not here to steal anybody's job or to mess anyone's life. They're just here to save their lives,
Basically. 'Cause
Yeah.
if they go back home, what they're gonna be. They're gonna get recruited. They're probably gonna.
Yeah.
They're gonna be in danger. So it's good that tonight, guys, I encourage single one of you guys to think about that. How an amazing, comfortable bed you had. How an amazing meal, warm meal that we can have, whether it was microwave or whatever it was, you had one, right? And that there's some laws in place that we feel safe. We feel safe under our roof, and there are many others that don't. And I wanted to take this opportunity to bring awareness to that, to bring our human kind, that if we don't care for things like that, we really have to evaluate our surroundings. And whether you think that you're the only person, you have to think those little eyes around you that are looking, listening, and mimicking you.
Yes.
So definitely having love for each other, because it was funny because we all not only bleed the same, but the blood has the same color, identity as a citizen of the world. So let's be more kind to each other. Definitely, we're going to put all this information down below, because I definitely want my audience, I want everybody connected to I Got an Accent, so what? Understand that's the platform that only made me vibrate, in the sense like injustice and things that we need to do as better leader for our community here in Central Florida. I'm calling to all those leaders that can do a change, those people that have a way to impact somebody's life. Think about you tonight, your children, and how easy and amazing and blessed we are. But there's many others that they don't have that choice, like you saying, like going to a hospital and just be afraid, not only going through a pain of not being ill, but at the same time, what do I do? Am I going to be deported? Or if it's a father and I leave my children and the wife at home, would I ever come back? Those are things that humans should not be, being dealing more than other things. So definitely, it's bringing awareness to this subject. And before we leave, there's a question that we always talk, and it's funny because I already kind of figured it out just by you talking so passionate about it. But if you go back to that 12-year-old Giselle, what will you tell her?
Oh, man. I think I would definitely tell her to not be as afraid. I think I was very afraid when I was a child. And not be afraid. I think the world is an amazing place, and even though people sometimes can be scary, like we just talked about. In general, most people have a good heart, and not be afraid of kind of speaking up and talking to people. I wish I had spoken up to that science teacher who was mean to me, right? So yeah, not be as afraid. Yeah.
I would have said the same thing to my little one. Afraid because, and I think it had to do with a cultural thing, that we were girls not supposed to speak up so much, or if you do, you might be out of hand. And I think we're living in a time, in a society, that us girls and us women need to speak up and say the things that are not right, because guess what? We're the one that bury the humanity. And I think we have a lot of voice, and those women and immigrant women out there, that wherever position you're on or platform, use it to push those immigrant and people that want a second chance. That's all they're asking, for a second chance, and everybody and anybody deserve that. Giselle, thank you.
Thank you. This was Amazing.
We'll bring more. I would love to definitely give you an invitation, an open invitation for any other, topic that we need to talk about and subject that affect us. Please, this is your home.
Thank you.
The more I think that we know, the more proactive we'll be. But like I told you, I had no idea how was that, and you brought so much light into it. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is, again, so important to have this platform, so thank you.
Do not forget to share, like, comment, download to all of our amazing, amazing platform, YouTube. Very important topic, and I think the more we share and the more light we bring, the more expansion we'll bring. Like we said, collaboration. Let's collaborate. Let's love on each other. Let's respect on each other for that second chance that every single one of you deserve. Thank you again, my amazing family. So I got an accent. So what? See you the next time.